everyone, so welcome to Investing for Value. So today I'm going to do Smile Direct. So they recently just announced their financial report for the fourth quarter and the full year. And as you can see by the share price right there, well, the share price dropped about 30% from about 11.30 to $8, which is quite the drop. So you must be wondering what is in this report that caused this massive drop. So with this drop, it's given this company a valuation of $3 billion. So let's look at the earnings. So fourth quarter, revenue grew 53% to 197 million. The loss for that quarter was 97 million, so in comparison it seems quite large of a loss. So I can see where the market's kind of feeling a bit jittery. Then we look at the revenue increase, and it increased 327 million for the year, up 77% to $750 million. The loss was 580 million, though we can look at that and we can work backwards and add back the non-cash expense, because a lot of that actually is a non-cash expense. And then we can get a better picture of some of these things. Alright, so in terms of their actual products, so like these guys mainly do aligners, though I will talk about the other aspect that got me quite interested in this business. But we'll first go through the aligners because this is the main part of the business. So for the fourth quarter, they sold 115,000 liners, up from 76,000. For the full year, they shipped 453,000, up from 258,000. The average aligner gross sales price was 1,771. So that's on average, that's the pricing they're getting for their aligners. And then the CEO had this statement: "As CEO of this business, I am faced with numerous decisions every day. One difficult but important decision I am making, given our club member experience and profitability, is in Q4 is to control our growth in order to provide the best consumer experience and reduce our costs to be adjusted EBITDA profitable by Q4 2020. Okay, so there's a lot to interpret from that statement. So firstly, they want to slow down growth so they can actually focus on the customer experience, because recently NBC came out with a report that said some customers were experiencing some pain, some complications with the product. It was highlighted that this was a minority of the consumers, but nonetheless, if anyone suffers with your product, you've got a duty to do something to fix this product. And I think they are basically highlighting in the statement in a very subtle way that we need to fix this. Like NBC did like a undercover type of video, where they went into one of the shops or stores, whatnot, and they asked, "Do I need to get a dental check before I start using your aligners?" And the person said no, when in reality you do. So even if they can capture such a video, there's already a problem, because it means your staff are too sales driven. They aren't looking after the customer properly. They need to recommend them to a dentist to have their teeth checked if they are actually, if they should actually be using this product, and a dentist can explain everything during that session. But if you don't go to a dentist, it's really irresponsible of the company. But I think it's probably not necessarily like a company-wide issue, but one that's kind of focused on a little segment of staff who are driven about based on the commissions of the sales, and they've kind of just done something that just has reduced the quality and kind of altered the customer experience. And as some customers put, there is like a bit of sales pressure put on them to buy the product. So then basically, I think Smile Direct Club is having a look at things and go, okay, we're growing too quick, and we've come up with quite a few problems. Like with any company in the world, you grow too quick, you're going to have some issues that come in terms of quality. Quality issues come in when you try to scale up big time, and Smile Red Club tried to scale up in a very big way internationally too. So it's good that they recognize this and that they need to start fixing it. So in terms of profitability, they want that, like out of $197 million, the loss was 97. So that's almost half. Though some of it's non-cash, of course. Though when you are posting numbers like that, it's not a great look. So people start to get fearful, particularly, when you have an NBC report that puts this company under some uncertainty because you might have lawsuits coming your way. And people don't know how good your product is because most investors probably haven't used the product and they probably aren't using the product too soon, so they don't know what the experience is like in reality. And they're relying on Smile the Red Club to actually be responsible as a company and to do the right thing all the time. So in terms of that, we can see that the company has a bit of work to do, but like in terms of growth rates, it's good, right? 77% growth is good. And that's why they're making large losses because they're pushing a lot of money out the door to grow. So they've given an outlook for the 2020 fiscal year. They expect to break $1 billion, and they're expecting growth of 40% year on year, which is an extraordinary kind of achievement when you get to that size of revenue. And then for the adjusted EBITDA, they're expecting a 50 to 75 million loss for the EBITDA. Like this terminology is, it's not the nicest terminology when you're talking about losses, because ultimately, if you include all these things, most of them can be non-cash though. Um, so, like at the end of the day, like it's reducing from the current amount anyway. And they do have cash in the bank. So, as we can see, cash is 318 million. So that's not too bad. So, but we still have to consider that they've got some debt, 173 plus the 35 here, giving them about 200 million in debt. But when you've got 300, that's not a problem, and this is long-term debt, so it's not coming due in the next 12 months, which is no problem. And then the company put this kind of statement out where it kind of highlights what things you can consider. So that loss of 537 million, essentially you're looking at this and with the adjustments that would give a more normalized basis, they really lost 102 million. In the scheme of things, 102 million is not that bad. It just looks much worse, particularly with this, equity-based. If you issue shares to your employees or to anyone that does work for you, and it's worth about 350 million, and you have to report it, yeah, it's going to make things look a lot worse than it is. But when you plus it back in, things actually don't look that bad. So I'd say they definitely have enough cash to last them beyond 12 months. And given the company's growth rates, assuming there's no like bigger and wider problems, I think the company is not not too bad in the current situation. So you can go to the website and there's a few things you can read. So the one thing that I saw here was Smile the Red Club scores another class action lawsuit dismissal. So as we can see here, there's basically, yeah, like there's been a lot of people that have, sort of been affected, and end up brought a class action lawsuit. But the thing is, it's been dismissed because, like, as they're put into this situation, these situations, however, are rare and not proper for class action suits. This court decision verifies that these kind of claims have no place in court. So, that kind of just calms things down a bit, though, you might not have seen this report because there's all this panic in the market lately, and this only came out a few days ago to say, like, it kind of reaffirms the position of the company that the problems that have been cited by the NBC report are the minor like as a minority of customers, and majority of the customers seem to be fine. Though we can, though this is still at this current stage, there could be a lot more coming. But so far, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a big panic to, especially if you've got courts that are ruling in their favor. And in like this is a big reason why I thought the stock had a lot of potential when it signed a deal with Walmart to be in 3,800 of their stores, selling everyday products like toothpaste, whitener, and all those things like that. And this is it last month in January. So the results that we just saw recently were basically the results from yeah, like before this deal came in. So it's like the last quarter, right? It was last year's. So we consider that they've inked deals with CVS and Walgreens, and then they've got a deal with Walmart. So these things still stand. They're still there. Nothing's really changed that much about these deals. The company, like, I mean, there's some quality issues. We could probably admit there's some quality issues. And then when we consider like profitability, yes, they did lose a fair chunk of money, though they're growing at 77%. And when growth companies are growing, well, what usually you lose money. If you don't lose money, then it's even that makes the company even more extraordinary. But when you lose money and you're a growth company, that's very normal. And then next, they're growing at 40%. Growth has slowed down from the 77%, but 40% is still an impressive growth rate for a company that's just about to hit $1 billion in value. So now that I've talked about all these things, it kind of puts it into perspective. A company that's just about to make $1 billion this year in revenue, um, and then it's selling at a valuation of $3 billion. So for a disruptive company selling a lot of products in some of the biggest stores in the US, well, I think it definitely merits more than the 3 billion mark. But I think the current situation of, yeah, like the current situation of all the sell downs have affected it. The uncertainty around lawsuits have also affected it. Because I doubt many people actually saw this part here where they won a law class, well, didn't win entirely, it just got dismissed, but I guess it counts as a win. Another class action lawsuit dismissal. So it kind of reaffirms the position of the company, that they're not immediately under too much threat. There is a bit of uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty. Also, the loss is slightly a bit bigger. Like if you miss estimates by a little bit, then yeah, I guess people aren't happy. And also they're just seeing it as an opportunity to sell down. And it's just, I think it's just all put into one where it's a big panic and everyone tried to run for the door. And then yeah, it's ended up at $8. I did just take a chance to just buy a little bit this morning. Um, and but I think there's potentially a little bit more to come from the dropping because at the end of the day, markets are selling off right now. So there's a potential that, yeah, like you can just basically buy at an even lower price than $8. But in the scheme of things, this company is worth more than 3 billion in my view. And yeah, like you're growing at 40%. Like if they weren't having these problems, 3 billion would seem like a steal for this company. Though because of the issues that have been highlighted, then people are a bit more cautious. And given the current panic, everyone wants to start to hold cash, or they want to reposition their portfolio from the risky stuff or the uncertain stuff to the more reliable stuff that has more certainty. And that's probably quite fair. So, but overall, I'm looking at this in terms of a longer aspect, and I think short-term wise, there's going to be a little bit of pain on the share price, but I think by the end of the year, the price should be up when this company reaffirms what it's doing. And if there's no major lawsuits, then yeah, I think the biggest problem is people are fearing that going to be an investigation and there's going to be lawsuits. But as we can see with some of the court cases, when they've been dismissed because they just don't hold that much substance. And if senators try to push for an investigation, well, there's not a lot of substance for them to push for an investigation, particularly when you already have courts that are dismissing lawsuits. Yeah, based on the two opposing sides. So in terms of like, should you buy? Like, I think this represents an opportunity to start creating a position. I definitely leave some money on the side though, because I think given the current market, it should drop a little bit more, and you definitely always want to keep a little cash on the side, particularly in these markets, to just average down in case you need to. Hopefully that was helpful in some way. Um, yeah, particularly after a 30% drop, yeah, there must be a few people panicking. There must be a few people rubbing their hands and going, is this a bargain or not? So after this, I think it represents an undervalued company, though not without its issues. So I think you buy with a bit of caution. And then, yeah, I think that's more or less it because they've just reported their earnings, so I don't think there's too much else that's going to be coming in the next 3 months. So it's just buy and hold and wait and see what happens. Until then, well, good luck investing, everyone.